are liars, you just think your globe's so pretty. I'm 100 miles away, but I still clearly see that city. How about you? Does math explain this? I want proof, not some old goof. Fe deniers, don't you worry about the distance. I can see you there across the lake.
My bad.
All right, lads, we're live. Oh, I'm not
all
live
right,
on the thing
so
yet, but they're live on the other thing.
Yeah, got people coming in. We got Xavier.
Yeah, we give Liliana points for quick draw. She was like right there.
Yeah, she was asking about it too. She's come on up. Uh-oh, are we bugged? Oh no, there we go. There we go. Let's see here. Let's make some co-hosts. Boom. We are rolling. Background, medium, and chill. Tonight is really honestly kind of just a topic-free night. Talk about whatever. You know, we are Ether Cosmology, so that will generally be the focus, the main theme, but you know, this is obviously we have a lot of flat earth discussions here as well, so if that comes up, it comes up. Obviously, that's that's the nature of the discussion. It's a cosmological discussion, so yeah. What is up, JT?
Hey, I was seeing that this was going to pop off. I'm glad to be here. And I got to tell you, I was sipping on your coffee and I found that time lapse of you roasting it. It just made it taste that much better, dude.
Nice. Nice. I need to do some more footage like that. That one was like a really perfect summer night though, and I was roasting outside. Yeah, it's a nice little time lapse.
Yeah, it was really cool to see you sitting there and just doing your craft, you know. And it made me a little jealous because I don't know how to roast coffee, but it just looked like you had plenty of time to ponder and meditate and think, and it's just amazing.
Sometimes, yeah, you know, sometimes it's like, oh shoot, I gotta roast like 6 different types of coffee, and I'm gonna be up late packaging all of it, but that's always good too, you know. But I love the coffee, so I love that I get to roast it all the time, honestly, overall.
That's awesome. Well, I got to do a huge pile of dishes, so I'm going to listen for a bit. But I did want to mention Paraplegic Bear wants to visit with you because he's been roasting for a while, and I bought some of his before. Y'all should chat it up sometime.
Yeah, we've actually chatted a bit. He direct messaged me, and then we went back and forth a little bit about roasting and beans and stuff. It was pretty cool. Probably will continue to have some more chats with him. Actually, I didn't find out where he gets his beans from. I should ask him a little bit more about that.
Never ask a man where he gets his beans, Toby. You know the rules.
He mentioned it, but I didn't understand because I go through a third party. It sounded like he might have a direct hookup, which would be cool. Although I don't know what he's probably ordering in pretty massive quantities if that's the case, which is a bit much for me because I have like 9 different types of coffee.
Yeah, I think he's organic for sure, and then he won't sell coffee to anybody that isn't cool with the coffee being roasted on a stationary topographical plane. And he sent me 7 or 8 pounds at a time before.
Respect.
So yeah, that's Paraplegic Coffee. You can hit him up he's on our Discord channel, on Ether Cosmology. I also roast coffee, which is what JT was just talking about. My coffee company is Brushtail Coffee. I do it on a Weber grill. I have like a special motor set up from this company called RK Motors, and I can do up to it was like about 6 pounds at a time. Yeah, I get all my beans are they're about 80% of my beans are organic. The ones that aren't are still come from pretty hospitable, like no pesticide-free farms, and generally like good processing facilities. If you have any questions about any of my beans, you can always ask them. I try to like. It bothers me that for some reason coffee has to be so political, but I guess it's just the nature of some things. So I try to keep politics out of my coffee. But like I said, if you have questions about anything, is your coffee bird safe? Is your coffee fair trade? Is your coffee organic? Is your coffee shade grown? Is your coffee dolphin certified or whatever? If you have any questions like that, just hit me up.
Will it help me fight climate change, Toby?
You might have to tune into Ether Cosmology to find out.
Can I get some uncertified dolphin coffee though? Like I want some non-FDA approved ground dolphin. What you got on that, Toby?
You'll have to send me an encrypted Telegram message and we can discuss that.
Word.
Don't buy dolphin coffee.
Or do.
Put that out there.
Something you never thought you'd have to tell someone, right?
I'll drink a cup right now.
Is that Space Ghost? What's up down there, Space Ghost? Liliana's here, of course. Super supportive all the time.
Shane, I've been enjoying your music, bro.
Have you? Don't tell these guys, though.
Yeah.
I told them I gave it up, so. You're so supportive too, JT. Speaking of supportive people, the mayor.
Dude, I'm just hungry for the truth. I want to spread it. I want to find it. I think everybody has the same vibe.
Yeah, but if there's a show anywhere at any time, JT is there adding super chats, spreading the love, and calling in and doing whatever. Like sometimes two places at the same time. I don't even know how you do it.
Thanks, bro. Your mic is a little bit in and out. I can hear you, but it's like not plugged in good or something.
Not plugged in good.
It sounds plugged in better now.
Shane.
No, I just got to move closer. We're good.
You're a little too close
better.
though.
Too close. Got it.
Yeah.
Like right where I was then is good.
Spaghetti.
Good to see you, Liliana and Stone.
Yo, hey, yo, hey.
So yeah, tune in tomorrow night on Ether Cosmology. We'll be talking about Moonlight and cold moonlight measurements and what what the arguments against it are, like people that say what it is, that say it's not a thing, what they have to say. We'll look at some of the bad arguments against it and some of the maybe slight, I would say better arguments against it. And then we'll also look at a bunch of measurements of it, tons and tons of people that have measured it. So we'll look at a bunch of that. And then we'll talk a little bit about the moon in general. So yeah, check that out tomorrow night at 7 p.m. on Ether Cosmology. But yeah, in general, like I asked, what should we do for a topic tonight? And Shane was like, let's just literally have no topic and let's just chill. So I guess we're doing like that's why I called it background medium and chill. But
Community.
But I don't want dead air either, like we got to have something to talk about.
I'm sure we'll get going. We'll bring up some people up here and just start chatting. Xavier's already in our chat looking for group. Love it. Love that dude.
I was just looking on YouTube because I think, this topic you were talking about, the moonlight versus the sunlight. I think it's Ben Balderson's channel. I dove into a few of his videos where he was showing like a current, a pretty strong, I may be wrong on the terminology, but he was showing moonlight putting out a lot of something, but you couldn't actually power anything with it, but he was registering it. Let me try to find the link.
Yeah, definitely share that. That sounds super interesting.
We not have a purple pill? Oh, we do. I just can't see it through here.
Yeah, I don't see it on my end either.
But it's here.
Is it though?
Like if I share it to space, you can see it. Right? There it is. But we can't access it from the menu like how we used to.
Yeah, I can't get into the replies.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how to fix that. Freaking Twitter. Well, we should be fine.
How's the audio?
Is that Flat Earth Eric?
Yeah.
Good, man.
All right. I don't want to say who, but I know a guy that used to be in solar industry, and he's got a large parabolic mirror that he used to use for installation. And I suggested to him one time that he try it in the Moonlight and see what happens, but I haven't heard any results yet.
Yeah, interesting. Parabolically reflected concentrated moonlight.
Right.
You can make popsicles.
Yeah,
I
I found
guess.
it. Toby, I sent it to you on Telegram. It's 3 parts and it's very short, like 2 minutes or less for each video. And he shows some interesting stuff on there.
Nice. Thank you.
You know, I met Ben Balderson at a Flattoberfest, and actually he's into, it's not gems. What is it? The stones that form naturally. What's that called? I just spaced on it. But anyway, he was making
Geoids?
yeah, maybe. He was making jewelry out of it, and I bought my wife I think a necklace. that
Crystals.
had- yeah, crystals, and it had silver wrapped around it. It's real pretty. But he was cool. He got his truck stolen while he was at Flattoberfest, and they did a GoFundMe and hooked him up. Got him another one. It was kind of lame that somebody did that.
Damn, that sucks. At Oktoberfest, somebody got their car robbed, and then everyone came together and bought them a new car.
Yep.
Damn.
Wow.
Dude, I keep playing these parrots. I can't get enough of them. I don't know what's wrong with me.
You know, Dave's been making a lot of AI music too, so he'll be listening to Flat Earth Fridays, and then something funny will happen, and he'll quickly whip up lyrics and tunes about how somebody funny, you know.
That's kind of what I've been doing. It's like, oh, I need one about masonry. You know what I need? Okay, I need one about this in the sky. Oh, throw in some math. How about that Analemma, huh? Yeah. Everyone's appreciating that size discrepancy.
Go on.
How we all thought it was, fatter on one side but the other, but is actually equidistant from the equator. So has only been an aspect of perspective, like sort of in my mind, solidifying a circular orbit.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy, man. I still like it because part of our arguments for so long have been that it's bigger in the south or whatever, but it's like literally the same size.
Yeah, a lot of things that I've contributed have been undoing our last argument. So I'm sorry, everyone.
No, it's good to have it right though and understand the actual mechanism of it, right? Because if it's the optical effect relative to the lattice, well then yeah, it's going to be symmetrical, right? So
yeah, doesn't that make more sense though? Wouldn't it? Like, because since everything in the sky is latitude dependent, wouldn't that also be latitude dependent? Like the sun's inclination, latitude dependent. The frowny face, if you will, all latitude dependency. So, of course, that would also be the same. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, Actually, at first I went, "Nuh-uh, no way, Stone's wrong. Let me go to my trusty model, and oh shit, yep, there it is. Yep, there it is, doing exactly what it should. Okay, all right, so that's what it is. It's just latitude dependent and perspective based.
Exactly. We're grappling with the apparent position of the sun. This is the mix. Yeah.
But so now, what do we say about their ellipticity being imposed by Kepler's math? So they have to say that there is an elliptical orbit because they have this speeding up, slowing down. Wouldn't that then also just be an aspect of perspective?
How dare you turn an elliptical orbit into optical elliptics?
Like, how they mistook redshift and blue shift or whatever for being further away, then it seems to have a higher radial velocity as everything in the world spins around you. So therefore, things further away appear to go faster.
They just seem to be shooting their foot at every turn. Every time they draw a diagram that's not to scale, they impair their understanding of the scenario. And it again, right back to the video when they showed this big ass exaggerated ellipse and pretend that's the Earth's path. And, but when you look at observation, they say, oh no, it's only 3.25% outrageous, out to end. But when you actually plot that at an R value of 93 million miles, like, come on, guys, it's fucking circular. Get a grip.
It makes way more sense. It has to be circular, first of all.
Circular. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Well, I was just going to say, so they've changed it from circles to ellipses to literal straight lines. So it's like, if anyone hasn't caught on yet, it doesn't matter what they use to describe the motion in the sky, like when they use math for it, like where you can do anything with it. Literally,
even the Newtonians. Yeah, no, absolutely. Even the Newtonians want to conflate or actually further obfuscate the math with things like the barycentric point in the sun. That's got to be maybe, 10 feet away from the center of the sun regarding Earth and the Newtonian mass exchange they share, and one's orbiting the other, but they kind of pull on each other. And you know what I mean? The sun is supposed to be 800,000 miles wide, but the barycenter of it is maybe 10 feet off of dead center inside the sun because of the Earth. You know what I mean? Like, what are we talking about here?
Barycenter, yeah. You don't know about the barycenter, Stone. You don't even know what you're talking about. That's why it makes it all make sense.
Yeah, 'cause I didn't get a PhD. That's it. Yeah.
That's just the retarded. Like, everything that they do is a way to adapt to their retarded insertion of ellipse math into the orbit, right? Oh, well, it speeds up and slows down. Okay, well, that's necessitated geometrically by an ellipse. Are you saying that it's an ellipse? Yeah. Okay, well, then all the things that follow that mean, and then it's just like one episode onto the next as they try to recoup from the math that they themselves imposed on it.
Oh, you know what they say? Once you start mathing, you never stop.
Because the eclipses had me going, right? Because if you perpetuate a cycle of an ellipse versus a cycle of a circle, you get a very different cycle. And then if you're trying to align that cycle with, say, another cycle or the sun and the moon, then you run into problems real quick, especially if you start, spinning that off for 5,000-6,000 years. You're like, okay, it's a very big difference. So when I was trying to figure out, is it an ellipse or is it in a circle? Because they have these very specific ephemeris, the solar and lunar ephemeris, which are in the form of an ellipse, but they're specifically converted to that form from the geocentric equivalent. Like, those are the only two heliocentric ephemeris that I know to exist. And every other ephemeris, it turns out, is geocentric, right? Like, hey, go figure. That's how we see the world. But they specifically went through the trouble of converting these two for all the solar and lunar positions, like in ad infinitum, just because I think they wanted to sell the ellipse lie. So it goes super deep. And I think that's where we're at. Because they had to, because you have to get the position of the sun from that ephemeris if you want to do eclipse stuff for the map, and that's in ellipse orbit. So I don't know how they did that, but they converted it all to that and made the math work for them, and then left it in the geocentric position. I see I went too far for everyone.
I was actually a little distracted by what's up on the purple right now with Orwellian and this flawed experiment.
Oh, nice.
He's kind of halfway there. Anyways, reiterate what you just said, and I'll catch up.
So they have these two ephemeris that I specifically had to deal with for the eclipse stuff, and they are heliocentric ephemeris. They're the only two that are heliocentric, and they are just the sun and the moon positions off of that ellipse orbit in either direction, like in perpetuity. I think they're called ELEP 2000 and VSOP 87. Of course, I have a database entry on it, right? So I'll post it up, but they're the ones, they're the only two that are heliocentric, and they're the only two that give the sun and the moon position and as an ellipse. So like, this is what I'm thinking is the only thing rocking or anchoring their ellipticity are these two ephemerises.
Out of how many in your collection?
I have like 12, I think, but there's like 10 that are geocentric and 2 that are helio.
That is a significant stat. Yeah.
It just seems weird that they'd have to do that for just these two and then use these two as the margin and the ruler to measure all the other like ellipticity orbits, because you know the model only used circular orbits and had an easier time predicting eclipses. So it's just something I've been thinking about. Circular versus ellipse, that it's always been circular. The first clue should have been stellarium, which I trust super. Like I trust it has never actually gave me wrong information yet. And when you ask it to compute the orbit of the sun and the moon, it just spits out almost a perfect circle. And you're like, So that should have been the first hint.
Exactly. Graphic clue. Yeah.
What's Aurelian got up? What's up, Aurelian?
There he is.
Yeah, my bad. I didn't mean to post that to the jumbo. I was going to throw it in the pill. The Flurf herder, who's never herded a Flurf in his life, posted this video about altitude's effect on a bag of chips. It's fast forwarded, and it's a bag of chips on a dashboard under a camera being irradiated by the sun for an undisclosed period of time. And the only thing that I was mentioning with it, and again, didn't mean to post it to jumbo and derail this, was well, it's a flawed experiment because you need to account for the variable that is the heat from the sun and the dash. I've had multiple bags of chips, because I'm a construction worker, explode on my front seat because they were stationary and in there for too long. It's just funny. These people are like, yeah, if you don't understand this, you must be a Flurf. And I just got a chuckle out of it. So I was just going to throw it in the purple pill and not the jumbo for people to laugh at. So sorry I derailed it by getting it in the jumbo, man.
No worries, man.
Yeah, totally. No, the part that makes me chuckle is this goose even thought of asserting that driving up a hill is going to tell you about the shape of the earth. I mean, really, the effect of the sun, I think, that it might be having on the bag is melting the glue. You know, melting even if they're heat pressed together. You know what I mean? That the softness of the plastic itself will allow it to peel apart, and it just needs one little hole on the way out. You know what I mean? One little imperfection in that seal, and there goes your pressure. So yeah, just fucking retarded.
Yeah, that's the type of stuff you get from the Flurf herder. So I just thought I'd share it for a chuckle. It's it's pretty retarded.
It's desperation, I think. If that's all they can find, really.
Almost got debunked by a bag of chips, bro. It was a close one, boys.
Whew.
I don't think we inspired any Globers to come here. I don't think we have a Glober-friendly atmosphere any longer, if they are.
Well, there's 2 in the replies for the announcement of this Spaces. 2 guys 8 and 9 hours ago that might be here sometime, if they really mean what they say. You know, I'm sure you guys can see the comments down there.
No, I had them muted, I think, so I can't see shit.
What did I say?
Yeah, I've been blocking people, so does that mean they can't even show up to our space?
Probably.
Oh no, that's fine.
We got Conspiracy Smasher, of course, and then we got this dude named Mike Honcho. But his @ is actually both sides suck with underscores. Yeah, whatever.
I think I've interacted with that dude, and by interacted, I believe that dude has been clapping in my mentions for a while.
Yeah, I think I made a rule. Like, if you're an adult man and you respond more than one time to another adult man's post on the internet, you're automatically blocked.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because those people would give me like 3, 4, 5 responses to a post, and I'm like, who the hell are you? What are you doing?
Yeah. It's honestly creepy.
So what I figured out is that when they add you to these lists, you get guys like P-dubs and stuff like that. You'll make one post and your post is populated into this list that might have 500 members. So I know that I've made a couple, and I woke up the next day and I had like, I don't know, 18,000 impressions on something fairly innocuous. And I'm like, how the hell is this possible? Who are you people? They're just screaming in the vacuum of my mentions. And then I figured out, oh, I'm on like 15 lists.
Yep. You got to take yourself off those, I think. Right? There's a way to do that. You got to go through it. And once I found it, I was like, oh, and I took myself off of like 10.
Yeah, I do it at least once a week.
It's not like they stop adding you. It's like their little insidious way to beat Twitter. Like, we're going to show the flippers. We're going to get in a group, all 100 of us that exist in the whole world, and we're going to pepper every post with nonsense. It's like, okay, you guys got it.
Someone's got to find a life purpose somewhere, hey?
Well, what I've noticed too lately is a lot of it's chat GPT generated nonsense. So like they can't make a coherent statement on their own. And look, I'm guilty and I'll take that. That'll be a badge for me. You know, I'm not using chat GPT because I got fat fingers and I make typos. That'll happen. But yeah, there'll be these like very uncharacteristic of just your random stupid Twitter troll with regards to like their articulation and their eloquence. And it's like, yeah, no, that's not, you're not actually speaking. That's not you. You're using AI to make yourself look like you got a couple of firing brain cells left.
Well, dude, on that note, last week, I think that's what we covered. Some guy, had a bunch of ether refutations or whatever, and it turned out to just be a bunch of chat GPT generated nonsense to give an appearance of like, an understanding of science and what was even being said. It was crazy going through it because you can tell like it has that hint of chat GPT to it where it starts like mixing things up based off of what you said and like actual context of things. So yeah, it was really funny.
Yeah, it was more than
it.
just a hint of chat GPT.
It was 100% AI generated. Wasn't that in response to the Michelson-Morley timeline that I put out with all the ether experiments?
Yep.
They were like, we're going to debunk this with nonsense AI regurgitated. What?
They were playing around with a bit of Witsit's schooling Glober's questions on the Morley ether
Right.
argument. And of course, that's what made it so enjoyable to read it back in the robot voice for the entire reduction of the...
That was so funny. I was out of town sitting in my car, dude. I was working like 5 hours from home and was waiting to check into my hotel. I was waiting for a guy to get back and I was listening to you guys read through those in the robot voices and could not stop fucking laughing. It was great.
Give me some of your ketchup chips.
Well, it was hilarious. Like the first couple of paragraphs or whatever was like, okay, looks like this was maybe AI generated, but at least it's actually kind of formulated like a real post that someone wrote. Like you put a little bit of effort in, but then it gets to I don't know, past the first 3 or 4 paragraphs, and it was literally turned into question and answer. You could tell it was literally the guy didn't even bother to change the format from just the question that he asked and then the answer that the AI gave. Yeah, it was pretty insane. It was just very, very, very surface level stuff. Didn't even talk about the person that measured ether wind himself, Dayton Miller. But
dude, no love for Miller. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, someone needs to feed some more context to ChatGPT about Dayton Miller.
I included the spreadsheet with all the experiments, papers, and the list and all the data, so it's not like they couldn't have done that work, right?
What's that guy's name? Sam something? Sam Altman, Brinkman, something like that? The ChatGPT CEO. We got to call him up and tell him about Dayton Miller.
Yeah, Wise Null Printer. That was that guy's name. That was too funny.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They're persistent, you know. You gotta give them that credit, I suppose. The guy's like whole. Oh yeah, that Substack. That was the only article on that Substack, by the way. Another little fun fact.
Just its reason for being, I guess.
Maybe the joke is on us, and like maybe that Substack was maybe that whole Twitter account was generated by an AI.
I would put it past them. There's definitely a couple dozen.
Yeah, rough. But here we go into the 2020s, mid 2020s.
Do we still get because of sunset?
We got real astroturfers, and then now we got digital astroturfers.
No, I still put them under the old anti-FE groupie umbrella. These people are just so lost and so desperate. They'll absolutely try anything because nothing else has worked.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah,
really
that's right.
telling too that they won't grab a mic in a space. All the guys that are comment warriors that won't grab a mic in a space, my rule moving forward is that you're trying to use ChatGPT to make your arguments for you. You're not interested in the conversation, and you won't grab a mic. Otherwise, the alternative is you just, you're disingenuous and have no balls. And, just like, I don't know, mischaracterizing the people that host spaces and talk about them being unhinged and won't give you a mic and this, that, and the other thing. And yeah, it's no, that's my rule moving forward, man. You won't grab a mic in a space, especially Flat Earth Fridays where they give everybody a mic. And unfortunately, and Alan will attest to it, it gets annoying. They're going to give you a mic, man. So if you don't pull up and grab one there, yeah, you're probably just trying to run a ChatGPT script and, get an artificial dunk. And it's pathetic.
Dude, an AI assisted pre-dunk is the worst kind of dunk.
Well, I'll be honest with you. They try to run it on. So I show up in you guys' spaces because you guys are teaching me. I am articulate, but I am learning, right? So they'll look at me and be like, he's an easy op, right? Well, I'm going to make a clip out of him. No, dude, goof ass. I'm not falling for that. Not at all. Like I pull up into these spaces and typically don't grab a mic because I don't have anything to add with regards to the sciences. I'm still learning. That's me being humble, right? I don't step out of my lane if I don't need to step out of my lane or I'm not confident doing that. But I'm the type of guy that they're like going after. Like I'm a low level, maybe intermediate coming into this, been doing this for a while, but not these spaces. Like, no, man, you're not baiting me into that so you can get some, I don't know, some cheap clip to go run back to your friends with. Like, oh, we got one. You guys are going to have to find somebody else. I'm not stupid.
Yeah, I think the victim badge is the most that they're hoping for these days.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
A little global oppression, one might say.
So any of you guys down there, you want to talk, just throw up your hand. Maybe we'll toss you a mic.
Yeah, I can cycle too if I need to. No, I'll mute up. Sorry, Lily.
Sorry, my emojis are not working at all. Even trying to put my hand up is not working, and
Go
then
Twitter.
I can't leave a message either. So I have no way except to interrupt and talk.
Well, it's your ball. Run with it.
Oh, thanks so much for reconnecting me over and over. I keep getting just randomly disconnected, so that's really weird. So if I get disconnected, I'll just ask for a mic again. Oh, I wanted to go back to you guys were talking about the sun being in an apparent position and all that, and it kind of inspired me into this. Can you hear me?
Hey, tap your mute button there, Eric.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say goodnight. I appreciate what you guys are doing. I'll catch you next time.
Right on, man.
Oh.
Take care.
So, anyways, yeah. So I was just inspired by that thought of the sun being in an apparent position, and what I was thinking was, according to the Vedic stories and stuff, I've been trying to convert that into physics, and so, anyways, I'll try to make it really short. But in the story, when I convert it into physics, basically what it's telling me is that the very nadir, is that how you pronounce NADIR? Like at the very bottom of this nadir of this big hollowish sphere that we're within, like we're on the horizontal, there's the torus field on top and torus field below, and we're on the stationary flat plane in the center of it. Okay, so in the nadir, there is a gigantic dynamo. And as far as the stories go, there's like a hole at the center, and then there's this beam of very, very high frequency. I don't know, they just call it energy. They call it a pillar of fire. So, but when they mean fire, basically, it could even be translated as.
Ooh, we lose.
We lost you at translated as.
We lose her every time.
Damn. Come on back.
Hey, while she's trying to reconnect, what's funny is the scratchy sound with Shane happened first, and I dropped down, I came back, and then Stone got the scratchy sound, and Shane was fixed. So X is kind of crazy, but I got to dip out too. I may listen from YouTube, but you guys are legends. Keep it up.
Later,
Thank you,
May.
Mr. Mayor.
Right on, man.
Yeah, take care.
Sorry.
JT.
Thank you. Oh, anyways, so then we have to just imagine this beam being some kind of electric force, right? Some kind of really powerful, and it's huge. This pillar of fire is so huge that they couldn't even find the top end of it or the bottom, part of it. Anyway, long story short, I was also inspired by something that I saw on one of you guys's websites, or not websites, like I think it was on YouTube, about how there's some kind of energy that might be coming from the bottom of this hollow globe, and then and reflecting on the firmament, or not the firmament, but the dome, so the top dome. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen pictures. I had posted a picture of this really gigantic geode, and it was huge. It was like maybe 10 feet tall. It was an amethyst geode. You know what I'm talking about, right? Geodes. But anyways, it honestly, it looked like the night sky. Like when the light was falling on it, it totally looked like the shimmering night sky. And so anyway, so according to these Vedic texts or whatever, they talk about the sky. And I still remember, in their paradigm, the dome has many layers, right? So there's gaseous layers and whatnot, and frequencies and plasma, whatever. And then you have the metal dome with the crystalline minerals in it, right? So in this paradigm, the father of the sun, and the father of the moon, and I think there's the father of maybe 2 or 3 other planets. I forget, maybe Venus and some other planets. They are actually the stars in the Big Dipper. So I don't have all their names on hand memorized, but I think I do remember that the star in the Big Dipper, the Ursa Major, that's called Megrez. Megrez is supposedly the father of Moon. But the moon also has many wives. And then the mothers are also stars. So I was just wondering, could it be that this energy beam, this pillar of energy, is coming from the nadir, from some kind of dynamo? Obviously, that dynamo is super powerful. And then it's sending up this extremely powerful beam. And then that's reflecting on the dome, which I told you I had seen that concept in one of your videos. I can't remember which one. And then if those stars are in fact like really giant crystals, because honestly, some of them in the videos that I've seen, that have been going around, it literally looks like the bottom tip of like a giant obelisk. Like it might be thousands of miles long obelisk, but we're seeing the bottom tip of it. We're not seeing. And then the bar galaxies look like some of them may have toppled instead of being like pillars, and we're just seeing the bottom tips. Like they're like these obelisks that fell, and that whole thing must be so dynamic up there. Like there could be hot water moving around or just water or whatever. And then so these big obelisks kind of, twisted around and before they kind of solidified or whatever. But anyways, I mean, also, there's quartz dust all over the world, everywhere. So it's coming from somewhere. So probably there's a lot of quartz there, various. And these stars are also known as the indestructible ones. So, I mean, what do we think of, indestructible? We think of diamonds, right? Or like very, very hard stones, like the sapphire group, the corundums, or the emerald group, the beryls, or, whatever, like, and diamonds, and even quartz, because that's pretty hard. Anyways, long story short, what I was thinking was, could there be energy coming from that beam and then reflecting on the dome on these particular stars, which are really crystals, and then those beams are being reflected. And if there's multiple stars that are reflecting, that are pointed maybe in slightly different directions, and maybe 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or more converge, and that's where on a certain level of the gaseous or plasmic domes underneath, and then that's where these luminaries are ignited into existence. But then what we're seeing is really maybe even like their projection or reflection, or we're seeing it through other layers of the atmosphere or whatever. So it's still only apparent. We may not even be seeing the actual sun that's ignited. We might be just seeing a reflection of that sun on some other layer down here. I don't know. I mean, this is all conjecture, but these stories kind of hint at all that. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not very articulate, and I didn't really go into detail because I don't want to take up a lot of time, but I don't know. I just wanted to run it by you guys.
Did you just outline the creation of everything in the bottom of the toroidal field, the creation of the stars, how the luminaries got their light, and the makeup chemically of the whole world? Or did I miss it? Liliana, that's amazing. Did you just go through everything?
I don't know. I mean, I'm just giving you like a condensed version because we, like you guys said, we are only looking at the apparent position. Like it may not even actually be that physical sun, right? The one that's ignited. We just might be seeing it through curtains of the dome, right?
We're seeing it through something, right? Like I don't think that anyone is seeing the actual sun, which kind of lends it to that black sun theology. And there's a different sort of depiction of how that would work. I think flat earth philosophy has it in like an upside down tornado or a big like cone, so to speak. I think if Kat's here, she talks about that all the time. Yeah, she's down there. The cone, upside down cone, then it kind of circles around, and then what we see is, as the projection is just what comes into our little personal view of hemispheric viewability, if you will, and then no one ever actually sees the actual one. Like so, the principle of triangulation, like if everyone takes what they see the sun and try to point it at the sun and do it all over the earth, that never lines up to a solid object, which is why we still hold that it's an apparent position, because we can't triangulate it using regular means. And that would also lend to everyone only seeing the apparent version, I think.
Yeah. I absolutely. That to me, that makes so much sense. I mean, it seems. Oh, also, by the way, the seasons. So the reason all these luminaries basically rise and set, they're going in circles, is because they are tethered to that dome itself that's spinning. They're all on the same time cycle, so they're all, so that also makes sense, is that, if they're being projected into existence, then of course they're going to just follow the rhythm of the dome that is spinning every 24 hours. But another interesting detail also, they talk about Rahu and Ketu as being the influence for the sun having the seasons, so the sun, going a little higher over the Tropic of Capricorn, and then, going higher over the Tropic of Cancer and lower over the Tropic of Capricorn. That is, somehow to do with the influence, the sort of like the electromagnetic or magnetic influence of Rahu and Ketu underneath. And of course, there have been like regular geologists that are telling us that they have detected two very, very powerful magnetic blobs in Earth's mantle or whatever. And so when I read that, I was like, oh, that's probably exactly what they're talking about, Rahu and Ketu, influencing the sun's movement throughout the year.
I don't know about if it's Rahu and Ketu influencing them. That's just another name for the intersection nodes behind the sun. But electromagnetic up and down would sort of fit the toroidal breathing that we kind of imagine, because as a toroidal field, like to have a dielectric plane of stability in the middle, it has to be like tumultuous on the outside, because like the chaos and the movement is what creates the stability on the inside. So you have the plane of inertia, but because it's always moving and outward and expanding and contracting, that's what's creating, I think, the inward plane of stability and inertia. So I think that's necessary.
Oh, right on. Yeah, that makes sense.
I think I'd like to. Can I help you a little bit with identifying Rahu and Ketu as like what we're actually talking about when we use those terms outside of Indian lore and what have you, that you've seen? Shane definitely touched on it, but I'm not sure that he made it clear to you that the difference between the two models is vital in interpreting what's really going on here. And we're talking about already the apparent position of the sun, right? But at the same time, we have observation, and we're talking about, in the globy sense, the sun's distance to us, which they love to try and compute with all their cool guessing games. But the only hard figure that they're going up against there is angular size, apparent angular size of the sun. And that as the sun moves towards Capricorn towards the end of the year, it seems to get larger, and they assume it gets closer. And even as far as our model is concerned, that very well could be the case, in quotes, that we talk about the sun going around the Earth in terms of its angular velocity, and that remains constant regardless of its GP going north or south, season to season. That I think personally that there is going to be a coinciding between the sun's apparent distance from Earth and the amount of ground per hour it's got to cover in a different season. And this leads to part of the lags and stuff that I cite in my sun video, that the sun necessarily, to heat the Earth to the same degree, to the same extent, day by day, regardless of when in the year it is, in order to keep part of the Earth from boiling over and part of the Earth from freezing all the time, that in terms of just a wattage per square meter kind of analysis of what the sun is doing and how it's hitting the Earth season to season, it creates what we formulate into an ecliptic path of the sun itself, that we say it's this distance away, then it's that distance away in any other season. I hope you're following this, at least, that there's going to be a relationship between its apparent size and the moon's apparent size season to season. That they're not entirely the same, but they do oscillate the same way annually. And what we look at is where between maximum and minimum do the two paths seem to coincide. And when that happens during an equinox, this is part of the mechanism that's producing the eclipse. That the two paths, again, we're kind of using a pseudo ball analysis of the moon, its path over us in a circle, and that's going to create a plane of motion, and it's going to be offset from the sun's plane of motion as it does the same thing season to season, but on its own plane. And it is the intersection of those two planes we call Rahu and Ketu. Rahu, when the sun is above, and it used to be summer up north, and it's moving down towards the end of the year, and it's coming closer to Earth, so to speak. Its angular size is getting larger. At the same time, the moon is allegedly moving away from the Earth. Its angular size is getting smaller. And as those happen at the same time, during an equinox, during a new moon, for example, that is when you're most likely to see a solar eclipse, because the two planes of motion intersect at that time of year for that particular eclipse. And those two intersection points are not something that happens on the same day every year. They cycle all the way through the calendar year as well, opposite each other, if you can picture that there's a cyclic nature to it. And I think that hopefully will help you have a better idea about what the concept of Rahu and Ketu actually are. Rahu being when the moon is crossing the sun's ecliptic path from below to above, so to speak, that its apparent size is getting smaller, and Ketu for the inverse. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, actually in modern astrology, they're known as the south node and north nodes of the moon, right?
Yes, they also call them knots, depending on which book you're reading. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Well, everyone used to think that those are like the invisible bodies that someone photographed outside the plane that one time, but I don't know. They're too heavily required as actual nodal intersection points to be anything else, although I don't know what was photographed in that video, so who knows?
Well, you're referring to the orbs?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
for sure.
they are known as shadow planets, so there's that. They-
Sure, but we only see them when a certain kind of shadow is cast, so to speak. During an eclipse, for example.
It's okay to disagree, Lilian. I feel like she's like,
No, really, you see it this way, you see it that way. This is how we figure out what it is. Everybody sees it a different way. That's the point.
Indeed.
Well, I mean, it could all be more than just one thing anyway. I mean, I don't think
Sure.
any of these are conflicting. But
No, not
yeah,
at all. In
I
fact,
see. No, I totally agree with everything you guys are telling me. I'm learning a lot. I can't argue with it at all. No, I'm
you
in
also brought
agreement.
up stars, and I'm guessing that you were referring originally to the ones around the area of the sky where Polaris is, as a reflection or a transmission point or a rotational point from what happens from the physical North Pole on our surface going up to that. And you were referring a great deal to the energy exchange there between. My impression when I was listening to you describe that is, okay, then I think we might want to take a much closer look at the spectral analyses, those stars to other stars elsewhere in the sky. Is there any kind of progressional change according to latitude away from the pole? And where do the appearance of stars actually change one location to another, if they do? Because as far as I personally see the phenomenon as a star goes, to me, it looks like there's a fair bit of sonoluminescence involved in their generation. Not necessarily in how their movement is controlled or some of the other things that you mentioned, but just in how they are made to appear. That I see a lot of correlation in what we see when we use a sonoluminescent process in water acoustically to produce brightness. If you've seen any of that star in a jar stuff, it's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they're attached to a dome that is spinning, no matter what material it's made of, there's going to be tremendous vibration, right? Just from the movement, which is sound. And so, yeah, it's probably there's just a ton of sonoluminescence involved, of course.
Yeah, very likely.
It's just kind of fun speculating what the stars might be, because
yeah.
I love having just some kind of a working model in my head, just for my own satisfaction until I find a better model. You know.
That's how you got to do it. I had Shane's working model for the longest time. It was just like, okay, how does this work? Okay, how does this work? Okay, well, I can't have the seasons working this way and a non-physical sun and moon, so I have to make some amendments, and that's how you end up with like modular components that all fit together.
Yeah, I like having a few different possible complete theories to an extent, you know? Like there's kind of a black hole sun theory, which kind of goes with a lot of the vibes of Cosmos stuff with the honestly, I still don't totally rule out the what's it called? The moon map. I still don't totally rule that model
the
out.
vibes of Cosmos thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then but then I also kind of am into I don't know, other possible explanations of the moon phases. You know, it literally could be, I think, an excitation from the sun that causes the moon to self-illuminate to an extent. There's like due to proximity of the sun, it's not a reflection per se, but an illumination that occurs within a proximity to the sun. That's kind of been my main working theory. But that would be particularly for phases of the moon. But then that all kind of fits within the toroidal vortex model, as far as I'm concerned, which I think some people also kind of put hand in hand to an extent. I mean, obviously everyone's different. Some people put that hand in hand kind of with a biblical cosmology model. I think a lot of those models, biblical cosmology and toroidal vortex, can seem to work together in a lot of cases. But then there's I don't know. Honestly, I also don't totally rule out a Pac-Man Earth model. The one thing I know is like we see too far, we can't seem to measure any curvature, and we can't seem to measure any motion. So, as far as what's happening in the sky and what's happening with the exact proportions of the land, you know, there's so many things you could speculate on.
Let's speculate wildly on star position now that Liliana brought it up, because that's been bugging me too, man. I printed out star maps on like the equatorial and just did like, Mercator version, and then figured as a Mercator projection, I could convert it like any other projection and put it back in an azimuthal projection. And now I'm looking at it and it's like, that all the zodiac constellations literally line the tropics and only migrate 8 degrees outside that. So like if they were the only constellations that you knew, you could adequately predict like every season, everything in the sky, every stellar phenomenon. And I thought that was fantastic to figure out.
Shane, do you have your videos organized like by chapter? Like, I think it would be so great for us lay people to just go and then like have an introduction and the chapter 1, chapter 2, and you take us through the whole cosmology, or just just stuff like that. Because I mean, honestly, all the work that you guys put out is so above my level. It's like I'm like this high schooler and you guys are all these PhDs. But I just was wondering if you have set up something like that, like videos, but like in a book form by chapter, like just for dumb lay people like me.
Playlists, you might think I would have set up, and no, I haven't, just because most of my stuff isn't on YouTube over the years, so it hasn't been easy to archive that way. I do have Telegram with a nice search feature, and the database, which is like informationally based, which does link to videos off of the database since it only contains 4 gigs, but it is not organized successfully. It's kind of organized by group and topic, and not like by degree of difficulty or, base infrastructure for understanding the rest of it. It's kind of like ether next to curvature, next to everything else. But everything is in there is the main benefit. I guess it's just not organized correctly.
Yo, I got a playlist on my channel called Sky Optics. It has pretty much everything that Shane's done regarding the sky and all that.
Oh, nice.
So you can use that if you need it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, this is so great to learn cosmology through the flat Earth lens,
Like real cosmology. Yeah, very useful. You find out as opposed to, well, actually, we're atheists pretending to look backwards in time enough to see that these billions of light years ago, something existed that resembled sphericity and also accretion happened. Okay. Here's something that I'm not sure I believe in, right? Called the migration of the North Magnetic Pole. How do you guys feel about that?
Say that again. Who's migrating?
So there's this old school Iwaranon theory about, the circle of the Earth being cut out from the greater circle as it oscillates around an inner thing and goes with that the great year of 2,160 years of the zodiac as it goes all the way around. Yeah, the 26,000 year cycle that I'm not sure anyone has lived to tell the tale because we've only been here for 6,000 years.
That is a hard one to confirm or falsify now, isn't it? And
Yeah.
especially with such shady data coming from the mainstream about the MNP's or the GNP's position over time. It's just so shady. I wish, again, we had the option to explore anything outside of 60 degrees south in any direction, especially those that we're just talking about here, where there must be more. Frozen or not, there must be more.
Shane, are you totally committed to we've been here for only 6,000 years?
That's what, if you unwind the sky clock, that's how many times it has cycled. That's pretty convincing to me, but I'm not, if I see better evidence, sure, yeah.
Yeah, but maybe that is just this particular cycle. Like there could have been other cycles that preceded it. But Earth still was here and there was people, and it just may be that what you found is this, the 6,000-year-old cycle of this particular setup, right, of the luminaries and all that. But there could have been a slightly different setup, which has that pattern has disappeared because there's a new design that came into existence 6,000 years ago.
She does have a point, Shane.
I mean, I can't disprove that, sure. That totally could be true. But the thing that's convincing about it is that it doesn't just use the solar and lunar cycle. It uses the eclipse chronometer. It uses literally the solar cycle. It uses the Bible. It uses dates from before, and it ties them all together in all of the intersecting cycles, which I think would be better known as Ezekiel's wheels within wheels, when they all of a sudden unwind to exactly the same date. It's like, oh. Damn, it's hard to get past that.
Well, there's so much architecture of so many different designs and just evidence of wear and tear that seem like, Earth might be much, much older, and there might have been civilizations much beyond only 6,000 years. I mean, it's hard to tell. Because who knows, there could have been technologically advanced people come and gone within just the 6,000 years. But I mean, I don't know. At this point, I don't feel convinced that, Earth has only been around for 6,000 years, but who knows, it could be. I'm open. But yeah, I think that there may have been maybe the luminaries themselves were of a different type, or maybe they were different luminaries and different rhythms that were happening. We just don't know. Maybe there were other worlds, and then somehow they disappeared, and then this new world was set up with a new clock with new luminaries. Who knows?
All of that could be.
There is a lot of evidence to be found to suggest a pre-human era where the ambient environment here was entirely different, far more oxygen content, and that there were a lot of silicon-based life forms here before us, carbon-based potatoes that we are. You know, like gigantic trees is just the beginning of that evidence train when you start to look for it.
Yeah, and so I'm not sure how long Earth has been here, right? I have no idea about Earth. I'm specifically talking about our civilization, humanity, right? So there could have been other things going on Earth before we got here. No idea, no way to tell, right? But as far as humanity is concerned, our history, that's what I think is limited to that almost 7,000 years, 6,000 something years total. But the other thing that lends credence to it is how hard they try to insert years into our history, how hard they try to expand the years that have already existed, how they insert just 1,000-year gaps into things. Like everything that they teach needs that longevity. Evolution needs micro changes over time, generation to generation, so it can't be done. So all the things that they pretend to get rid of God with, they need 1 billion years for it to have happened, for accretion and dust to have formed galaxies and planets and solar systems and Earth, and for that 3 billion years to have, led to evolution and retarded fish monkeys coming out of the water to hump a frog to make you, and all of that requires all of the years that they always try to insert. So they have different methods like carbon dating and all these things, which are obviously scientifically flawed and are just meticulously there to try to insert and lengthen our history, I think.
Yeah, there have been some rather glib memes that discuss the Middle Ages, Dark Ages quote, and how many years went by allegedly with absolutely no human progress whatsoever. That's hard to chew on.
Well, there's that wonderful chronologist who did the same analysis using the eclipse chronometer on other cultures and found they all had the same numeric gaps in their history. Like, 1,000 years here, 1,000 years there. That's not too weird, except 1,000 years in every culture. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, oops.
But it's not conclusive, Liana. You can still, I'm not sold on it, right? I don't know. That's just where my current modular corroborative analysis is until I find more or better evidence. That's where it will be. But I like to hear you convince me.
I think you got a duplicate post up in the Jumbotron right now, Shane. Last two are the same, I think.
Probably. How do I get rid of it? Oh yeah, those two shouldn't even be up there. Is it just posting? Oh no, the Great Cycle. That I didn't mean to put that there.
Yeah, they make sense in context.
Did we kill the combo and no one else has any ideas?
No, I was just enjoying your write-up. Why would they lie?
Oh, yeah, I wanted to talk about that debate that happened. Oh my God, that was so cringeworthy to
Down
watch
at the Soy Lodge?
What's that?
You mean the one last night down at the Soy Lodge?
The soy. Oh my God, I was embarrassed watching him just spiral and have this just total meltdown like a toddler. I was like, is this really happening? It was just so weird.
It was uncomfortably childish, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think honestly, I think when it comes to debates, like whether it's with Sid or any of you guys even, I think we're in this position where heads you win, tails your opponent loses, So no matter what they do, we always come out winning because we have the truth on our side. It's like, yeah, we're just talking about establishing that Earth is a stationary, level plane. That's it. That's all we're saying. We're not pretending to know way more than that. It's like we're not pretending to give you an exact model of exactly how everything works or whatever. I mean, sure, I think Shane has great models, but I doubt even Shane's making the claim that this is, exactly what it is. Like, we're still finding out. Um, but they missed that point altogether. It's like they just completely missed that point. And I think that I think that Austin, I think Whitsitt was really kind of cool headed about the whole thing. And actually, I think it's almost good that they kind of shut him down and mistreat him, because in a way it kind of makes him the underdog a little bit, and I think that will actually increase his popularity, in a strange way. But yeah, anyway, so I think that's just going to be a problem with all you guys, is that you're always going to be debating with these mental midgets, who absolutely don't know what they're talking about.
I think that was the main problem last night. For the first 2 hours, it was a lot of finding out, where they were asking Whitsitt tons of questions to no end with all this incredulity mixed in. But really, he was schooling them for 2 straight hours. And, after a certain point, when he mentioned a certain thing about the good book, that the guy just triggered, and it turned into the same thing we even saw with Will Duffy and so many other people that Whitsitt has debated, that they think they've got their plan and they let it all go, and then at the end they've got something they want to spring on him, something where they think they're just going to win the night, quote. And it just never happens, because they've forgotten about the obvious statistical reality here. And Whitsitt even pointed it out later in the debate, maybe 25 minutes from the end. He said, look, I've debated 1,000 people. And I agree, this really was not a fair fight, if it was going to be that for the last 30 minutes. And again, Whitsitt pointed that out. He said, look, I'm not coming at you hard. I've been going real easy on you. I've been giving you just the answers you're asking for. I'm not giving you anything extra that is irrefutable that I obviously could, if given the opportunity and inclination. Sure, I think Whitsitt would have just wiped the floor with the guy. But hey, up until 25 minutes before the end, when the child got verbally abusive as well, I'm sure in the back of Whitsitt's mind, there was the slightest possibility that he might come back for round two, much like how he treated Harrison Smith. That the possibility was there, until he said, no, just give me your socials and get the hell off my show, and ski guys, I'm going home. It was just that from the end. You know what I mean? It really wasn't a fair fight.
Hey, family. What's up, guys? Hey, I just wanted to say on that, on that point, we're basically selling ideas. Okay, we're not trying to convince anybody. We're just selling ideas. So when you're dealing with sales, it's all about the numbers. So if this guy's not receptive, you just got to move on to the next guy. And you shouldn't just associate someone's whole community with the behavior of one host, for example, because I took a chance and I went into their Discord this afternoon or this morning, and I've spent all day speaking to them about different truth topics and about flat Earth and all the different ideas that we have. And, surprised, basically the whole Discord was pretty receptive. I've been in many Discords talking about these ideas, and I've been shunned away, ridiculed, memed, just, how it goes. But every single person I spoke to, minus maybe like one troll who spoke once or twice, everyone was receptive to the ideas of just seeing past the green cloak, and so just, don't lose faith on one dude, and don't label a community based on one asshole. That's just how it goes. I've had great talks with these guys, and I hope they come around.
So you think maybe that the performance that Whitsitt gave, or I wouldn't even call it performance, his cool demeanor and his, and maybe inspiration for these people was partly why they were maybe more open to you today?
I mean, honestly, they're going to side with the host because they have a bias. It's their audience. But at the same time, their subconscious can tell the difference because there's one guy who's talking a lot and spurking out, and then there's another guy just kind of sitting there twiddling his thumbs, taking it. And
Yeah, they don't want to
when
look
he
like
did
they're
have a-
hosted. They don't want to come
yeah,
off like
well,
that.
when he did have a chance to speak, he did the best he could to get the message out. And like I told them in the Discord, I said, things might be different if people could be, if they were able to download hundreds of years of misinformation in just, an hour's podcast where people are, where we're being accosted essentially. And that's just not how it's going to work. So I took a different approach, and I was just having, cordial conversation with long paragraphs and whatnot. And they were extremely receptive, and they even agreed with most of my points. So, just keep at it, keep talking to people, and don't let one runt, stop the movement,
That's a pretty good point, dude. Because that one guy can't possibly represent it can't be 50,000 baby men, right? It has to be actual people with ideas who will be swayed by facts and verification. So yeah, that's a good point.
At the same time, he was the epitome of what we deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah,
He was just like
but
the
I think
most
it worked
extreme
for us.
version of it.
I think it worked for us because
completely.
he put on such a poor display.
Completely. It didn't work for him at all. I mean, nothing worked for them at all.
The best thing Austin could do is just sit there and be humble, and that's what he did to the best of his ability. And regardless of anyone's bias, people are going to feel the energy, and they're going to feel that there's a disparity, and people are receptive to that too, and they can tell when something's off.
Well, you heard the thing with Franco last night where I was talking about the airplanes. I mean, that's the other end of it. And we've got a CERN physicist that everybody else in the room could totally see the point and see that he was just babbling. And he was just like talking nonsense. And he's supposed to be explaining the physics of it.
You totally put that guy in his place.
It was,
it was great.
Insane.
Good job, by the way, Dave. That was amazing.
It blew my mind that he just wouldn't at least say, "Oh, okay, well, this." But I guess that would be it. If you have to give up the kinematic concept, you're done.
He couldn't define the mechanism, and that's the thing. Like, they pride themselves in the mechanism, their gravity, and it doesn't make up the difference in this case. So
it doesn't answer anything. Yeah, it's not even a force. It's a force. It's not a force. So there is no answer on their side for anything. That's the crazy part about this position we're in, because they literally have nothing.
Didn't you get an award, Dave, for what does it say? It says most undefeated in flat Earth aviation argument.
Well, last night was the pinnacle of that, man. I was just insane. You'll have to hear it if you can stand it.
I'm going to share your award so we can all comment.
I'll have to check out that video.
Yeah, I was just going to upload the full version of it because for some reason I got cut off and my audio wouldn't work. I don't know if that was intentional, but it seemed like the same kind of thing was going on with you guys in the spaces when you were bringing the heat.
You were definitely bringing the heat, man. He was basically pinned up against the wall, just hoping the knife wouldn't hit him, and you just kept hitting him.
Well, yeah, but he acted. The false confidence was just amazing. Like, do you think he really thought that he had a point?
Dude, you know the boxers that trash talk from the bottom of the mat after having been knocked out 3 fucking times with 2 black guys, and they're like, "Listen, dude, I'm gonna get you." And you're like, "All right, bro."
Yeah, he kept going back to, "You just don't understand physics." When he didn't even use physics for his explanation. I'm like, "What?
Exactly.
Are you kidding me?
Exactly.
You're really gonna try that?"
Hey, he's the historian, dude.
His best argument was I would fail you in my class.
Yeah, and then I said, "Okay, well, you tell me the answer that I would give on this test that you're going to fail me at. You don't even have an answer to give me that I could put down that would make me pass it. You're failing as a teacher right now."
Right. And you asked him over and over again, what is the answer then, sir? What is the answer? And then he just ran away.
Literally isn't.
Yeah, and philosophically, it like that makes our point when they say that too, right? That's like mask off. Like, oh, so if we don't go with your indoctrinated viewpoint, you would fail your student, but you can't even articulate the argument, but you would fail a student over it. Like,
Yeah, you didn't even give an answer that I'd fail at, right? I mean, you failed to name the mechanism. You're just saying that air somehow solves it. Air that pushes a plane is a wind. That's as easy as it gets, and it's not happening. It wouldn't happen. It couldn't happen, and it debunks the ball emphatically.
Well, look at
so we
that.
have a question here from the YouTube chat that anyone can jump in on. It's before the natural form. Let's see here. If it was how could the Earth form flat? It was like 8,000 years ago that the pyramids pointed at Orion. Wait, hold on. So, like I pointed out before, the natural form of the magnetic and dielectric field is a sphere. How could the Earth form flat? And I told him I would relay his question to the stage.
I think it's a poorly formed question. I think he's conflating the two models, trying to hybrid them together and picture how a flat Earth may form out of vacuum. And I think the bigger question he needs to ask, very much along the Brenner lines of thought, is just how does a gas ball form in an absolute vacuum when we're dealing with ideal gas law in conflict? Yeah, that guy's got a long way to go with putting questions together. That's what I would
Yeah,
say.
they all can't. They have a hard time giving up the whole story all at once. They can't. Yeah, it's like the flat Earth has to be forming like they were told the planet's formed. Otherwise, it makes no sense. Still, right? They can't get out of the whole paradigm beginning and then from beginning to end. We don't know how anything formed.
Yes, lateral accretion is a ruthless mistress.
Also a theory, just like the
That's the
title.
first and only time that's ever been said, probably.
Like, not a real thing. Only if you assume a whole bunch of nonsense gravitational parameters and unilaterally assume things, do things like tidal bulges and whatever the hell we were just talking about exist, right? Oh, accretion. Accretion is just a theory. No one was there a bajillion years ago to watch the first slightly bigger dust particle gravitationally attract the next biggest dust particle until they formed a clump that made a ball that turned into a planet. Come on.
And they certainly can't even reproduce the very first step of that really bizarre process they have in mind.
So now he asks, so how does it form flat?
Consciously. Chew on that.
It's probably always here, so it may never have formed. It's probably infinitely here always, as far as we can tell.
There has to be a beginning. That's the law of existence.
I don't know about that, though.
That's the law of existence.
Does it really? That's an interesting thing to debate, but we don't need to right now.
There are things that are, and then there are things that are not. This is what we prove with time, with any other object, right? There has to be a before.
Well, if matter can't be just created or destroyed, then how did it get here if it wasn't here already?
Now, see, what you just said is that we cannot create or destroy matter. Okay, not that that nobody can. You said that we can't, and that's what we need to get clear on when we start making those big assertions.
Well, if you want to just say God can make it happen because he's not bound by the laws that we know of, that's fine. You can believe that, but it doesn't prove it.
That's the thing. You're moving immediately reflexively to a deity, and I didn't go that far either. Well,
I thought that's what you meant when you said we couldn't.
No, I said consciously, and I said you, the dumb human, can't.
Well, then you're assuming that there's something smarter than us that can.
Well, it's
whether it's a god or something smarter than us, then I don't know. That's something that you'd have to theorize about.
In touch with higher levels of technology, however you want to think of it. And it's the same thing we talk about, culturally speaking, with less progressed races watching us blitz up with a camera and take their picture. That's witchcraft because they don't know how it happened.
On that point, earlier you were talking about the beginning being like 6,000 or 7,000 years ago, and them adding to the timeline. But then, and also you just mentioned Brenner in one of the comps that we were reading last night. He talked about the ancient Karuna texts that these Slavic people used, and it showed that they understood everything about ether physics. So if there was an advanced, understanding of ether physics that long ago, and that's where all of the origin, if he's right about that, if that's where the origins of all our language come from, then it would seem that they would have had to exist a long time to have had figured that out. Maybe that would be something that would go against the idea that it's only been 6,000 years ago that we were created or something.
Or something.
I mean, it does seem like there's advanced technology in the past. There's evidence for that, right? Or no?
I mean, we've been on a steady decline, technologically, sociologically speaking, right?
Well, since they cut us off from the ether tech, maybe, yeah.
Interesting. So I mean Doritos, dude.
And
That's the advancement of the poisoning that you got going on over there.
I know.
That's why we're in decline, the Doritos.
We got Jenny G, our favorite middle school teacher, in the audience tonight. That's good to see. Welcome, welcome. And is that Dave New Perspective I see?
That's me. I've been talking to you this whole time.
Very good. No, man, my Twitter interface is I can't even see that you have a mic, dude.
Yeah, that happens, dude.
Nice. Yeah, I've sent some mic requests out to people, but they have nothing's happened. So I think my UI is dead too.
Yeah, go Elon.
So was it the eclipses? I just showed up when you're talking about the 6,000 year cycle. That was what you were saying before about the eclipse cycles seeming to end, winding down to a starting point. Was that what that was based on?
That was like the third, fifth of what Layli Hannah just laid out minutes before. We were still echoing a lot of that.
Nice.
Right. Yeah.
Could it be a cyclical thing though? Could there be like a winding down and a winding up? Because
that's what she said.
Is that what she said? Okay, that's an interesting idea. Because the other thing about the whole nothing can be created or destroyed, I've heard Winston mention this, like that it does seem like there's a contradiction. If entropy actually is showing us that there's an end to it, things are being, spread out. Eventually, there's going to be an end. But could that also be cyclical? Is the question? Could entropy be a vortexual type? When we're in a vortex field, right? Possibly, most likely, in a vortex torus, which has cycles, and it could expand out and then contract and then expand out, and that could be the reason that we think that the eclipse cycles end as well as entropy creates a beginning and an end. Maybe it's just cyclical.
Well, then maybe everything in the sky ended all at once at the same time,
or contracted to the point where we can derive nothing from it other than to think it might have ended.
Could be.
Maybe that was just like the most compact it could get, and then it has to expand out again. I guess we can't assume anything. That's what got us into this mess.
For sure.
Yeah, that's the tough part, right? It's like I do like to theorize. I definitely like to theorize, but I also, because I think it's helpful, right? Like I know for me, when I was letting go of the ball, getting rid of my programming, seeing the torus field and seeing how that rotation could work, and like really just conceptualizing of a rotating sky, really helped for me to realize how I need, like, help me let go of all my programming. So obviously I can't really be making any assertions about what's happening in the sky. I've never been up there and measured it. I don't know the medium. I don't know what those lights are, what they're doing, how they get there, how they show up in my visual space and in my, in all my optics, all optical, all observations taken. But I, yeah. Sorry, I got a little distracted here by this question of what is a torus field.
Donut.
Yeah, essentially a donut. Never heard a torus field before. Wow. Yeah, basically kind of like a donut shape. You think it's the It would be the inverse of a hyperboloid, which would be, it's like kind of like the hourglass shape. So that's like the inverse of that. It's like the actually, let's go ahead and pull up Shane's little photo here.
Right? I was like, hey, I'm putting them up there.
Here you
Double
go.
chocolate.
Here's a toroid for you right here. Double toroid. I heard the magnetic field takes the natural form of the torus. Well, then I thought you hadn't heard of it. Maybe you just don't like the term field. I don't know, man. Now I'm wondering if you're trolling me. Anyways, sorry for chatting with my one YouTube instead of you guys. I literally like lost my train of thought mid-thought because of that guy.
That one guy.
That said, I'm happy that you're here, Toy Maker, because this is your second time. I've noticed, at least your second time here, and you know what? I'm a fan. You don't have to be a flat earther if you're just an ether lad and you understand that light has to, have a substantive medium to propagate. Then you're all right with me. You actually conceptualize of the world properly and not through an infinitely vacuous media with no substance, and hopefully you don't actually think that outer space, quote unquote, is infinitely disconnected and infinitely expanding. But here I am talking to you again.
Those are the deal breakers, I guess. Those two things. If you believe those two nonsensical bullshits, then we can't be friends.
It doesn't help. It doesn't help. I'm worried about your psychological health and your you're on a road to nihilism and a road to lots of paradoxical thinking, especially if you're a deep thinker. If you internalize that stuff.
That is actually one philosophical question I really wished that I had raised in astrophysics class decades ago. Was, okay, it's space, right? What's in it? Nothing. Right. Okay, it's expanding. How? And just let them grapple with that. It's nothing, right? Yeah. Okay, it's expanding? Yeah. How? I'm not writing your test. Screw you, buddy. I want my money back.
Ooh, so Flatless asks, hey Toby, could y'all touch on the cosmic microwave background radiation and the axis of evil a bit? I feel like it doesn't get brought up much, and to me it's one of the strongest evidences of geocentrism. Well, that's a fantastic question, Flatless. So I haven't actually done a lot of research into it myself. I'm just kind of vaguely familiar with the fact that when they took their readings of the cosmic microwave background, when they started doing analysis of it, they did quadrupole and dipole analysis, which is essentially just looking for congruent, like, what is it, like, would be like congruencies of data within certain areas, kind of showing that essentially what it showed was that there are certain symmetries to the sky that show that or specifically to the cosmic microwave background in the sky, that show that they anticipated no symmetries, no consistency, and it turns out there's a symmetry that aligns with the plane of the quote unquote rotation, and so like the axial plane, and then also the plane of the quote unquote is the
ecliptic
solar
plane.
orbit. Is that what it is?
Yeah, so it intersects with, they say it intersects with Earth's axis of rotation, right? But that's literally just derived from the ecliptic plane of the sun. So what they've actually measured is the intersection point of the sky with the sun's ecliptic. And there's no reason it should do that if we're not in the center of it, right? It's almost like the whole universe is rotating around the sun's ecliptic. Why would that be the case, right?
Yeah, that would be utterly that would be simply inconsistent with their model, and that's why they have to say things like that it's expanding faster. Well, that doesn't even fit in with that. Like, Actually, do they have
No, they call it the
the
axis
only
of evil.
argument I've heard was when that one guy was like, well, we could crank up the L values and just like jack up the amount of dipoles that we're looking for or whatever, or
Dude.
the amount of poles that we're looking for.
But wait,
And then when we do that, we don't see anything anymore. And it's like, oh, well, you know,
Well,
that's
that
not
turned
much
out.
of an argument.
Yeah, I was gonna say that turned out to not even be an argument because that's retarded.
Yeah, you're essentially just ignoring the actual observation. Like okay, just because the higher value doesn't show anything, doesn't mean that the lower values are suddenly irrelevant.
well, that's because they tilted the whole world at the angle at which the sun orbits the Earth. So, like, that's just their fault, right? That's another backwards compatible thing they have to deal with by incorrectly assuming in the first place, right? Because that's not like the sun just has a little angle to its tilt, and that's why it gives us seasons, etc. So, like, you know, much easier than doing that nonsense.
Nah, what's
That
really
would-
happening is when we get further away, the tilt angle of the Earth is giving us our seasons.
An exactly disproportionate distance slash. Yeah, I got it. Yep.
Yeah, it's just easier to simplify, to conceptualize it that way. Further
It's all
hotter,
about the wobble.
closer colder, right?
Now, more wobble, more snow.
There you go. That makes way more sense.
Yeah, thank you for chiming in on that, Alan. It's a perfect,
Yeah.
succinct explanation. So yeah, honestly, since we didn't really have much of a topic tonight, and we're just kind of chilling, and it's kind of quiet here, maybe should we start thinking about wrapping up? Does anyone have any final thoughts, final questions, anything like that?
Yeah, let's take last call and wrap it up.
Last call.
Shall we run a musical postlude?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Cool.
What would be? I could just put my mic to my speaker.
So ghetto.
I don't know if that'll suffice, but do it. We'll give it a shot.
I will. So for my OBS, I will actually mute my mic. So it's only going to be for the sake of the Twitter space. So if you're listening to my stream, don't worry, you're not going to hear the mic. But if you're listening on X, get ready to rock and roll raw style.
Chillin'.
What are we listening to? What should we do?
Globe. No way could it be that one. That's my favorite.
That sounds like a vote.
Yeah. Okay. I think you're right. All right. Hey NASA Liars by Man of Stone. We're gonna play out with Man of Stone. And then check us out tomorrow for Ether Cosmology Roundtable number 30. What is it? 33, 32, something like that. And we're going to be talking about Moonlight. And then check us out on Wednesday, probably for Schooling Globers with Wits It Gets It. And then Thursday, another night of reading night where we read and do research live. And then, check us out Friday, probably Fridays here on X Twitter Spaces. I know a lot of us will probably be here for that. And take care of yourself, everybody, and let's get ready to rock and roll. Let me mute up on the stream. Boom. All right.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Liliana.
Thanks for swinging by.
Yo, Toby. Are you playing it?
He muted and left us off.
Yeah, it's not.
Well,
It's not working. Well, I'm gonna play it out on my OBS. I'm gonna head out.
kick it.
Oh, everyone gets left out.
Yep. All right, lads. You heard Toby. We're wrapping up. He laid out the schedule for the week, so make sure you stay tuned in for that. And here's Man of Stone's new song.
That's a liars, you just think your globe's so pretty. I'm 100 miles away, but I still clearly see that city. How about you? Does math explain this? I want proof, not some old goof. FE deniers, don't you worry about the distance. I can see you there across the lake while laser pointers glisten. Use your eyes. Just hear my words, see through the lies. Might be surprised. Globe, no way could it be. No controlling how we think.